Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel with your host El Young, and we are here with the absolutely brilliant David from Torn from Existence.
Hello.
Welcome, David. Welcome, David.
Thank you for that. It's great to be here.
So, David, could you introduce yourself and what you do within the band?
Sure. I'm David A. Couch, and I am the founding member and guitarist of Torn from Existence. Write a lot of the material as well, although it's become more of a collaborative effort lately. But yeah, I am the guitarist. And of course, when you're a band at our level, you end up doing a little bit of PR, a little bit of management, a little bit of everything. But my primary role is, of course, playing guitar and writing songs.
Cool. Cool. So let's dive into some questions. As a kid, what were you listening to?
So when I was a kid, first off, I started playing music very, very young. 'Cause my father, he was in a symphony orchestra. I grew up in Cleveland. He was in the Cleveland Orchestra. So he started me playing the violin when I was 4. So I had a lot of very early exposure to like classical music. But of course, you know how kids are. I have kids too, and kids never really like what their parents like. So I kind of got away from that, and I guess first what I would really start listening to, is MTV. Well, I would listen to like the normal like radio friendly music, the Casey Kasem Top 40 Countdown, that type of thing. When I was growing up, so I'd hear like a lot of older bands like Loverboy and Hall and Oates and Rick Springfield and Adam Ant, the entire kind of '80s thing. It was my kind of like my first introduction to rock, and then as time would go on, I'd get introduced to things, and get a little heavier and heavier. I was really into the Who when I was like in elementary school. I really liked the Who a lot for some reason. I liked, even though I'm a guitar player, I liked John Entwistle, the Ox. I thought he brought like a really heavy sound to the Who, and I liked his songs, like The Quiet One and Force the Spider. So that was kind of like my first exposure, other than the Beatles, which my parents would also listen to like rock that I kind of discovered on my own. And then I don't know if it was because they had the Union Jack, but I went from the Who, because I had that Who's Best album, and all of a sudden MTV became a big thing here in the States. And, a very important video that came out was the Def Leppard video for Photograph off of the Pyromania record, the third record. And I think that was an early introduction for me to kind of heavier rock. And I think that's kind of an important release too, because I always remember that was the song that knocked Michael Jackson off the charts. So it's kind of like a triumph for rock over pop music, you know? So I was into Def Leppard, and I really liked the first 3 records. Like Pyromania was the first one I was exposed to because of MTV and everything. But I went back to High and Dry, which is a heavier record and probably my favorite record, and then On Through the Night, which I think is like an actually like pretty legitimate, like heavy, like good, like that's when they were still part of the new wave of British heavy metal, I want to say, along with like Angel Witch and Venom and Maiden, of course. So anyway, I kind of started there, and then things would get gradually heavier and heavier. Like I liked, like some of the '80s like glam stuff. So I was a guitar player, so I liked like Rat. I like Warren DeMartini on guitar. Dokken, I like George Lynch, Van Halen. Obviously, I like Eddie. The Ozzy stuff I would be listening to. I remember Motley Crue, Shot at the Devil came out with the Pentagram, and I thought that was kind of, out of all of the glam bands or the LA bands, definitely that one Motley Crue record, and then also the Wasp record, just the self-titled ones. Those were kind of like the 2, I think, heaviest albums that I heard when I was listening to that type of music. But then I was exposed to through a friend who actually was a drummer in a band of mine later. He started getting me into even heavier stuff, so, and everything would just get heavier and heavier. So what happened was Ride the Lightning came out. So I heard Ride the Lightning, and that kind of like, okay, this is the heaviest stuff now. And then so I went back and explored, Kill 'Em All too. And Metallica was just a huge, huge thing for me. And here I'm like 15, 16, I want to say. I'm pretty old now. So yeah, it was my early exposure. And then it was kind of like the big 4 of thrash with the Metallica, Slayer. I was telling you earlier, I saw for the first time in '86 on the Rain and Blood tour. Megadeth, also one of my favorite bands. I really loved the Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good record when they came out. I just really felt like Dave Mustaine and the band were just super, super angry and firing on all cylinders, and just that, but still pretty technical too. Like Dave always gets really good players around him, And yeah, so the big four, the Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica thing for sure. But then, I'd go even deeper than that. Testament. Actually, the first thrash song I believe that I ever heard was actually on a college radio station, and that song was Exodus, Lesson in Violence. So yeah, Exodus is a very important band to me. I think that they're like probably the innovators of thrash. I put them like neck and neck with Metallica. I think that maybe if things would have happened for them from an industry perspective, or I mean, I don't know, but I'm just speculating. I think that they could have been a lot bigger of a band than they were because they were right there at the beginning. I think they actually predate Metallica a little bit. But yeah, I was a thrash guy, but the trend continues because as the '80s kind of eclipsed and the '90s came in, that's when I started listening to. That's when I went from listening to like mostly Bay Area thrash, and of course I liked all the German thrash too. Like Creator's a very important band to me. Destruction, very very important band to me. Those two mostly. Um, Things got heavier and heavier, and so in the '90s, when Death came out, I was like, okay. And that's when I kind of made the transition from thrash. Thrash was kind of fading away around that time. I want to say it wasn't as popular, but death metal in particular from Florida, and in particular like well, probably not technical by today's standards, but then maybe so. There was Atheist, Cynic, Death. I thought were really really progressive. At least they were probably Human. Spiritual Healing's a technical record, but I don't think it's quite as progressive as Human was. But yeah, like all the early like Florida death metal stuff, like Obituary, everything you would imagine I would like. Sepultura, I love Venom, I love all that stuff. And so I listened to death metal for a long time. And to be honest with you, I didn't really like black metal at first when it first kind of came out. I just thought it wasn't very well produced, and I couldn't really tell what was going on. I couldn't hear the guitars. But then once bands like I call it Cradle of Filth, Cradle of Milf. So then once bands like Cradle of Milf started coming up, and we had this kind of like higher production stuff going on, like in the more symphonic type of elements, then I kind of started getting some more black metal too, and just mainstream black metal like Cradle. But then Dimmu Borgir I really liked a lot. The one period of time that they had those really really strong albums. Oh, good grief, from Sorti Diabla and Puritana, like that area of albums, really influenced by those records as well. And yeah, and really about that time, like all the albums, then we go from the '90s to the 2000s, early 2000s, and that was an era of time where there was so many great bands coming out on Nuclear Blast and Century Media, especially. I want to say, good grief, like with The Haunted and At the Gates, and just too many bands from that era that I'm also really into. So yeah, basically I just like all metal almost. But the thing with metal is that there's so much of it in this metal verse, and it's like I know some of the bands, but I just keep getting exposed to more and more stuff. So there's just a lot out there, and we're trying to push it forward just like everybody else is.
Yeah, true. So you mentioned that your parents sort of like was an influence on you as a kid to exposing you as to music.
Yes.
Was there any other people in your life where they've turned around and says, "Oh, check this band out"?
Most definitely. First off, there was my childhood friend. His name is Chris Stoley, and he was in a band with me that I had when I live in Denver now. But for 14 years, I lived in the Bay Area. Like I lived in Oakland, I lived in the Bay Area, and I had a band there. Early '90s, and then we had like a bit of a resurgence in the late or early 2000s or whatever. But anyway, he was a childhood friend of mine from Ohio who ended up moving out to California, and he was a person who really started getting me in some of the heavier stuff. I remember he had that huge Iron Maiden promo cutout, big cardboard cutout for the Peace of Mind album in his basement. I think you probably remember the one. There's only one that the record stores had. He had that, so we'd be listening to Peace of Mind. And then I'll never forget another time I was down there in his basement. We'd hang out in the basement. And another time I was down there in the basement, and he was like, "I wouldn't repeat these lyrics out loud if I were you." And he put on "Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath." So he was kind of getting me into like Merciful Fate. And I was like, "Oh, it's cool and satanic." And I think he turned me on to Possessed. He was a tape trader back when that was a thing. So and he also had like a huge record collection. So I would go over to his house and just like do the thing where we'd play records and like copy them on cassette and stuff. I didn't have a ton of money. And yeah, good grief. Yeah, so he was somebody who turned me on to a lot of bands. But then also there was Cleveland College Radio, which was really, really good back then. They had like a lot of metal shows that we listened to. They had like good grief. I can't remember. There's Metal on Metal was one of them. What was Bill Peters' show? Anyway, there was a DJ there. I think he's still around for sure, and I think he still has his show. His name is Bill Peters, so I listened to his show, which I believe was Friday nights in Cleveland, and he would turn us on to a lot of cool metal. I think that's actually where I heard that Exodus song, "Lesson in Violence," that kind of fueled the fire for me. Yeah, so definitely my parents, definitely my friend and former drummer Chris, definitely the Bill Peters, the radio DJ, and yeah, just a ton. You know, I had a pretty good group of metal friends there when I was growing up. I'm lucky in that respect. So yeah, we would all share and tape trade and stuff like that. But my parents, in terms of my discipline and making me like practice the violin, and you know, the college radio influence, and then like my friends surrounding Chris were pretty much like the three things.
Cool. So out of all the bands that you've listened to over the years, who was your sort of like main influence or several influences to say, I want to get up on stage, I want to do this, I want to do this?
I always fall back on the Death albums, the early Death albums, Scream Bloody Gore, that first album, and the first Possessed record too. I really like, actually, I do like the EP too, just the first two Possessed records and the EP. I wanted to be like Possessed. Death, I wanted to be like more death metal. Obituary was an influence. The band Sadist, which I don't really listen to them a lot on album, but I used to see them a lot. I played a show with them. It was like the first show we ever played with Sadist when I lived in California. So that was another band I would look up to rather. Megadeth with Dave Mustaine's solos and the guitar gods that he would get to be around him and stuff. That type of thing. So I don't know, maybe Death for heaviness, and then later Death for progressiveness. You know, Exodus for maybe just that entire kind of violent attitude. But I listen to a lot of guitar shredders too. You know, I really like Yngwie J. Malmsteen, you know, Vinnie Moore, Tony McAlpine, players like that. Not that I can play like that, but I look up to players like that for influences. So yeah, I have a lot of influences. Suffocation. You can listen to one Suffocation song and come up with like just a ton of riffs just around like one of their riffs because they're so crazy and technical. Yeah, stuff like that.
Cool. So were you, obviously mentioned you were in a couple of bands when you were younger. Could you tell us what band you were you in before you started
Sure.
Torn from Torn?
Sure. So it's interesting because there's a huge break between the last band I was in and this band. I think when we played our first show with Torn from Existence, good grief, a couple of years ago now, that was the first time that I personally had played out, I think in like 20 something years, almost to the date. But the main band that other people would possibly maybe know about was my California band. That band was called Thanatopsis, which is a Greek word that loosely translates to meditation upon death. And that's when we were like very heavy influenced by the band Death, Atheist, Cynic, the kind of more technical, not that we were that technical, so I'm not that good of a player like they were, but yeah, we were kind of trying to be more of a technical death metal, technical thrash metal band, like the Florida bands along those lines. I don't know if we were successful or not, but we did manage to play around in the Bay Area for a decent amount of time, and we played some pretty impressive shows. We played with Death. I got to meet Evil Chuck one time when we played with them on the Individual Thought Patterns. I burned a joint with him and Gene Hoglan after the show in front of the Stone in San Francisco, which I'll never forget. Let's see. So that was Thanatopsis. Oh, good grief. Hey, I'm doing an interview. Let me call you back. Bye. My friend Mark, we're going to go see a band called Witherfall tonight here in Denver. It's like a super power metal show tonight. But anyway, I digress. So my first band that people might know was called Thanatopsis. We've had like 4 demos out, I want to say. And then we put out like a comeback album in 2020. It actually ended up being re-recordings of a lot of demos and stuff. And that came out on an Italian record label called Extreme Metal Music. And the album didn't really do that well. We got signed and everything, and that was cool. And it had some decent distribution, but it was also during COVID, so we couldn't really perform behind it. It was just a weird time, and I don't know. But that was my main band, other than my current band. I also had another band called Mudslinger in the Bay Area for a little while. We had one CD that we put out. We also were on a Black Sabbath tribute album where we did the song Black Sabbath. And it's pretty funny because we were the last band on that entire album. It's called Tribute Hail to the Stonehenge Gods, is the name of that album. And that came out on a record label called Artillery Music. And I remember Juan Garcia from Agent Steel, he's in Body Count now. He was the one who reached out to us and like wanted to sign our band for that label he was working with at the time, and he put us on the compilation album. And then of course nothing happened, and we ended up breaking up after we played some shows. But that band was called Mudslinger. It had my best friend Lars, may he rest in peace, on bass, and it also had the singer on that was Juan Urtiega. He's a producer now in California, and he was in a band. He was in a death metal band called Vile. He probably best know for singing, but he's way better known as a producer now. He does a lot of the California bands and stuff. And then really after that, for a brief moment, I was also in a hardcore band called Sling Blade, and that was with myself and Eric McIntyre, who was the bass player for Attitude Adjustment, and then Chris Contos, you probably know from Forbidden, and Machine Head, the first record. He was also in that band. So I was in a band. I was essentially in, it wasn't called that, but I was essentially in Attitude Adjustment with Chris and Eric for, I want to say it was 3 or 4 months. We did one 4-song demo, I want to say. We played some pretty cool shows. We opened for Agnostic Front one time. We played with Fang one time. I forget about that. So I did actually have like a brief journey into the world of hardcore for a little bit also. And then that's it. We had a couple of reunion Thanatopsis shows. Then that all kind of fizzled away. And then I got married and moved, and life went on. So then I lived in Oregon for a little while after I lived in California, which was awesome. I always tell people, if you're a beer snob or a food snob or foodie, you need to spend some time in Oregon because it's great. I don't know how cool Portland is now, but when I was there, it was great. And anyway, I lived there for a while too. It was just a long time, and I was married and raising my kids and everything, but still trying to jam with people the entire time, and just nothing ever came through. Then I ended up moving here to Denver about, good grief, I think I've been here for 14 years now, and trying the entire time. Like, I've jammed with so many drummers here, and there's a lot of players here, and there's a lot of bands here. So there's a lot to work through to kind of find the right combination of people. So it took a while. It took me like 12 years. But here I am, and now Torn From Existence is, of course, my current active band, and I couldn't be happier.
Cool.
About that. I'm miserable about other things in my life, but I'm happy about my band.
So what has the band been up to, especially over the last 12 months?
Okay, so the last 12 months, well, I'll go back a little further. The past 2 years, we played our first show. Well, first we played like at a private party just to see if I could still play. I was like, okay, let's just see if I can do it. And I was like, okay. So we played our first show at the 10-year anniversary party for a brewery here called the Black Sky Brewery. It's a heavy metal themed brewery that we all kind of just go to and congregate at. And then we played a few shows between the 10-year anniversary. Then we went back for the 11-year anniversary and played that. So that was about a year. Then after that, after a year of us playing kind of shows like that, our album came out last October, on October 4th, Hark in the Darkened Skies. Let me give you the visual. Ready with props. It's my record. Doing the vinyl version. Sorry, it's a little glowy in here. Anyway, so we put that out in October. We played our record release party at a place called the Roxy here with bands that we love. Our friends Paula Priest. Look at the poster. I'm kind of cheating. Another band that we also played with recently called Oak, Ash, and Thorn was on that show. They recently got signed to Season of Mist. So that was our record release show. That was our first kind of like bigger and more successful show, I would say. We did really well at that show. And then after that, we started playing bigger venues here, and we played a show that was always going to be a pivotal show in my life. We got to open, local support, right? I'm still at that level. But we got to open for Venom Inc., and that was like the first kind of larger band that this band has got to open for. Well, no, we played with Storm Ruler. They're a pretty big band, but not as big as Venom Inc. So we played that Venom Inc. show in January. That was great. Then 2 weeks after that, we went to Florida and we played in Miami for the 70,000 Tons of Metal beach party, which we weren't on the boat, but we did like the pre-party, you know what I mean? And that was awesome because, people from South America, people from all over Europe, a lot of Canadians, people from Canada seem to like to go on the 70 Tons of Metal cruise. But anyway, that was really good for us in terms of getting our brand out there, like more kind of international exposure. So that was a really good show for us. Then after that, we came back, took a little bit of time off. Then we played in May, and we played a local show here, and we recorded a live video for that show for a song that we have called "Of Curse and Covenant." We recorded the live video there, and that dropped, I want to say, a couple Fridays ago. I didn't do a really good job promoting it. But yeah, that live video is out there of Curse and Covenant. You should seek it out. And then 2 weeks after that, we played at the Orient again with a band called Creeping Death. They're a pretty big band, touring band here from Texas. That was another very successful show for us in terms of attendance, merch. We're doing pretty well. And since then, we played another show still in Denver, but out of Denver. We played in Colorado Springs, kind of a neighboring city. It was a really fun show. And then we played again a couple weeks ago at a place here called The Buzzard with a band called Armed for the Apocalypse. That was another great show. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then during all of that time, we've been writing more. So now we're going to take a little bit of time off from playing, and we're getting ready to record our second record. We've been working on pre-production for that. And yeah, we're ready to go. It's written. We're just all kind of learning it and fine-tuning it and things like that. So that'll be the next big thing right now.
Cool.
All the normal stuff. I should be doing more. I know.
Yeah. So let's talk about Hawking the Darkened Skies. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how it came about?
I can. So Hawking the Darkened Skies is a pretty interesting album for me. The way that album came about is I just wanted to do a project in town. I finally had a bass player with me, Bill the bass, who's in and out. He was the first person to join our band, and he was coming over here to this room right here, and we'd be jamming. And that album I wrote, it just really flowed out of me, and I wrote that album about a year, start to finish. And the way that the order that the songs appear on that album are also the order that the songs were written in. It's just one of those weird things where the entire album is almost like one big composition, kind of, I want to say. Yeah. And so that album just really, really flowed out of me. It's 7 songs, but longer songs. It clocks in over 30 minutes, so it is a legal album, I guess. For you people that have short attention spans, this one's for you. And yeah, those songs. This is an album where I'm kind of a death metal guy trying to play black metal, and a lot of these songs I wrote like before we even had keyboards involved or anything. So it was really cool the way the album evolved, because as we wrote the album, more and more people had kind of joined the band as we were moving along and stuff. So it was like, hey, here's how it sounds with bass, and then we were demoing everything, and then we finally found our singer Craig, and then he came in and we were doing pre-production vocals, and then we had Jeremiah. Then I found our drummer, who we got lucky and just got a phenomenal drummer. The Texas import. He moved here to Colorado from Texas, which is why I probably didn't find him earlier. And and once we got him involved, it's like, okay, now we can actually do some stuff here. And then that's when I was able to convince another longtime friend of mine, our keyboardist, Rhiannon, to join the band, and then she added her elements too. And that's when we kind of went from being a death metal band to being a symphonic, blackened death metal band. I like to have a lot of adjectives, because that way there's something for everyone. But yeah, so that's how that album came about. It was just a very, very free-flowing, natural, organic type of writing style, which I like. I don't like to force myself to write or try to write. People can tell if you're faking it, but if you're truly, truly inspired, as I was throughout this entire album process, then it comes through the music, and I think people can hear that the music truly has some inspirational moments in it, each song for sure.
Cool, cool. We've got a question from my head moderator, Lisaboo, who's in Canada. She asks, how do you go about writing your songs? Do you have a process?
Not really. To be honest with you, I never force anything. So I could be taking a shower or looking at a piece of art or who knows, or even hearing another piece of music that makes me think of different types of riffs too. So what I do is I start with inspiration. I start with the spark. I never force anything. I hear something that inspires me, or I feel something that inspires me. That becomes the music. And then from that point, once we have that initial spark and inspiration, that's where you kind of build around there. But you almost kind of like let the songs write themselves in a way. It's like, okay, what feels natural to do next? What sounds natural to do next? So yeah, my process is to just be inspired and to be very free flowing, not to place any limitations on the way I write. But again, we're a pretty new band, and I'm the main songwriter. But now what's great is that now I have other people in the band around me to help me for this next album. So yeah, we're all going to be a lot more involved this time. So who knows? It might evolve even further than what I was doing. But yeah, as far as what I do, I just make sure that I'm inspired, not forcing anything. And sometimes it'll be from just playing too, and you'll happen to stumble across something that sounds cool. I like to practice a lot and play a lot. Really, at the end of the day, it's more important for me just to, if I had it my way, I'd just smoke weed and play guitar all day, but I can't do that. But, I'm definitely a guitarist and a musician first before I'm anything else. So I have a lot of love for the instrument, and the way that I feel when I play the guitar is just a very, very natural feeling for me. Even though as I've gotten older, of course, I have like normal carpal tunnel and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't let anything stop me. You just work through stuff, and yeah, man. I'm just a natural, free-flowing type of writing machine.
Yeah.
Lisaboo.
Yeah, Lisaboo just said, yes, you have to let it flow.
Correct. Because, like I was telling you before, if you force something, people can tell that you're forcing something. And then we go back to the quote from Evil Chuck, which resonates with me. What he would always say is, let the metal flow. So his philosophy, being the father of death metal, is my philosophy too. Just let it flow. Let the metal flow. That's what Evil Chuck would do. What would Chuck do? WWCD.
Yeah. You showed the vinyl for
yes.
Hawk in the Darkened Skies.
Yes.
Is that Jessie 581 who's in Australia? She asks, do you have plans for vinyl even?
No, we have vinyl. I have vinyl right here.
Yeah.
There we go. There's the back. It's a blue marbled vinyl, and I should grab my. I want to break up the interview. Yes, we do have vinyls in stock right now. I think the best source is probably our Bandcamp right now. I know there's been shipping issues, but we can work through that. If anyone wants to contact me directly, we can figure out what it takes. But yes, we do currently have our album out on vinyl. It's also on CD format. And of course, it's available pretty much everywhere that you can stream anything, because that's just what we do now. Mm-hmm. I don't even, I got Spotify, so I can walk up to people and be like, hey, my band's on Spotify. But to be honest with you, I'm still kind of CDs, vinyl, like to own things. I'm just an older guy that way. Although there's so much music coming out now that it gets to be kind of hard. But I definitely have a list of things that I have bands that I have vested interests in. So there's ones that I make sure every time there's a new release, like the Haunted just put something out, I had to get that. Bands like that I really have a vested interest in. Cool. Yeah, we have vinyl. Tons of them.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Jesse.
Next one for you, Jesse 581. Give me up.
So could you tell us, you mentioned that you are in the process or finished the process of writing a new album. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, actually, a lot of the songs for this album I kind of had in the bank from before. And what happened was Craig would come over and I'd be like, oh, yeah, well, I also have this song. And he was pretty excited about man, you have songs that are this good, just sitting around and stuff. So So a lot of the framework for this next batch of songs, which is going to be another, I think, 7 songs plus an intro, plus we'll have a couple like keyboard dirge type things now that Rhiannon's more involved from the beginning of the process. But yeah, we kind of went through some of the skeletons that I had existing and kind of recreated those for this band. Because on the Hark in the Darkened Skies record, I'm kind of like a death metal guitar player trying to play black metal, and that's what it's like. For this batch of songs, I was more of a thrashy kind of guitar player trying to play death metal, but now we also have black metal elements. So I think the second album is going to have a lot more of it's going to be a lot different from Hark in the Darkened Skies. It's going to have a lot more of thrashy parts on it, a lot more of groovy parts on it. I need to groove. I need to dance. I can't just blast all the time. I need to dance around and stuff. And groove or die. And this time, like I said, I want to be more collaborative with my bandmates because now I have bandmates. So we'll definitely be doing more parts. And like our drummer Jeremiah, he writes his own drum parts for sure. And Craig, I'm getting him more involved in wordsmithing with me and stuff too. So yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much been the process. Is I'll just demo something on my own, and then we just bring everybody in and learn it and make changes as it happens. And I'm actually pretty far ahead of the game because we have the second album's pretty much written and decided upon, and then I actually have another 3 songs demoed for a third album after that. So I'm thinking pretty far into the future, and especially when there's other things in your life not going so well, I think it's kind of important to stay creative and stay focused. And I'm a consumer. You can see that I like to buy things and have things, but I think it's important to be a creator and put stuff out there as well when it comes to metal anyway.
Cool.
I'm not thinking I had any sort of value to the universe or anything like that, because I certainly don't.
Cool. Is there going to be sort of like any plans on going into the studio anytime soon?
Yeah, we so right now out of this batch of songs, we have 5 of them that we can all play together as a band, or almost about 4.5, 5 of them that we're pretty close on. So I'm thinking about another month and a half, maybe. We'll kind of hammer in, us getting tight as a unit on the songs. And then, yeah, we'll still kind of decide how to go about recording. There's so many different ways to do it these days. And but I would say that before our goal, especially since we're not really playing any shows right now, and I told everyone I'd make another record, our goal is to make another record. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like. We're kind of exploring different options. But yeah, that'll all happen before the end of the year. It should be recorded, hopefully. Hopefully sooner than later. Every time we start doing something like this, it always takes longer. It always takes longer than you think, for sure. You never know. And that's kind of, before you go to the studio, it's kind of like, who knows how long it's going to take. But we'll do our best. It took us a long time last time, but there was scheduling issues there too. So hopefully we can expedite things a little better this time around.
Cool. You did mention some of like your merchandise, such as the vinyl and the CDs. Is there any other like merchandise, such as T-shirts?
Yep. We do have shirts. They're on our Bandcamp page. We have, let's see, we have shirts that are like for the album, the Hark in the Darkened Skies artwork with phrase from one of our songs, "Tempted by the Necromancer," which we also have a video for. In fact, all of you guys who have not seen our video for Tempted by the Necromancer should watch that video because it's hysterical. Because we took over an office building. It's just like a weird, it's almost like a blackened death metal sitcom going on. We decided to be kind of silly this time just because we wanted to have some fun. And I would encourage people to check that out if they have not yet. Good grief, and I forgot what the question was. I digress.
Merchandise.
Oh yeah. So we do have T-shirts for that, and then we also have some some limited edition shirts that we did left over from when we played in Florida. Not too many, but we have some of those left also. We have tank tops of those as well as normal T-shirts of those. It's a variation of the design of our album cover, but we kind of made it like Florida. Like there's The witches are wearing bikinis this time, and the hands are carrying cocktails out of the ground, So we have some of those shirts too. Other than that, I believe we have all the normal stuff like patches. I want to say we have, what else do we have? I don't know, but we do have shirts, patches, vinyl CDs. At least have that much. They got some refrigerator magnets left. These are really good because you get flyers. You can stick them on your fridge.
Cool.
Stick them on your friends.
Now, have you got any plans on doing, or in the process of doing, merchandise for the new album, or are you going to get the album recorded first before you start thinking about?
Well, one thing. It's funny you should ask that, because when we were at band practice, we used to practice on Saturday, not practice on Sunday. So when we were at band practice on Sunday, we were talking about how we do need new merch, and we were trying to decide if we do another variant or maybe release another single. But I think at this point, we probably will just wait for this next album cycle. We're going to go back and use the same artist that we used on the first album, because I like that. Her name's Silva. She did a really, really good job at working with us. Because a lot of what she did was like kind of me dictating the album cover. And the album cover kind of is, kind of parts of different parts of the songs. Like this is like Crawl from the Crypt, of Curse and Covenant. Like it's kind of like different song titles are themed, and that's how the album cover came up. Like there's like, see, this guy's crawling from the crypt right here. He's being summoned from beyond. But yeah, we'll have her do the artwork again, and I want to do, like, our next album is going to be a little more thrashy, like I said. So we're envisioning kind of like a big, kind of bolt thrower-esque battle scene. I might even go double gatefold. I don't know, but yeah, we're thinking about that. And once we get that done, there'll be a lot of images to choose from to do another round of merch. Because you're right, merch is key and merch is king, and I do need some more product.
Yeah, cool. All right, we've got another question from Jesse 581. Obviously, this will be after you done the second album.
Yes.
Done the second album. Have you got any plans for tours abroad in the future?
Oh, we have a lot of talk about plans for the future abroad, and I have been talking to a girl over there. She actually in Greece, but I've been talking to somebody over there who does have more of those European connections. So we do want to build our presence over there. We haven't had an opportunity to do much of that yet, but we do need to put more of a focus from a PR perspective into those different regions. So, but yeah, as of right now, I don't even have a passport. I'm a little behind, so I need to get one of those. Luckily, it doesn't take too long right now. I know somebody just got one. It took about a month. So we don't have any solid plans, but we have a lot of talk and tentative plans. But right now, we also still need to do some more regional stuff around here too. Like we've done Florida and some outside of Denver, but we do have a van now. So I think probably we'll be doing some van tours here also. Early end of this year, maybe in December, we were talking about, and then maybe something in April or May we were talking about, maybe going to Texas or something. So we still need to do some regional stuff before I start thinking too far ahead and going abroad, as much as I would like to skip some steps. But yes, it's talks in the future, nothing solid yet. But Jesse 581, we'll get that together. We're coming for you.
Cool. Thank you for that.
We can get to Canada.
Yeah. I was going to ask about are you going to be doing some like in and around like Denver or down into like the sort of like on the West Coast tours?
And I would love to do something on the West Coast. I actually have bands there that I'm friends with that I know in both Oregon, which I've lived in, and California, which I've lived in. So yeah, that would definitely be, I think probably we would stick to around here first. So like, Wyoming, Las Vegas, Utah, different parts of Colorado. I think we'd probably do something regional here first. Then we'd have to do something separate regional, just probably in Texas, right? Probably like 4 or 5 places in Texas. And then, yeah, we could set up something down the coast. We have talked to a couple of bands about setting something like that up, yeah, but you know how it is, everything kind of fizzles out. But yes, Portland, Washington, or rather Oregon, Washington, California. I would love to go to all of those places, and maybe Vegas to there. I don't know. We'll see what we can pull off. The good news is that we do have a van now, so we at least are mobile.
Cool.
Yep.
Jessie 581. She just said she lives in Australia. She said they used to take 3 months for a passport.
Yeah, it was really bad for a while. I think for a long time after COVID, even it was pretty bad, but not so bad anymore, is what I'm being told. I started putting the process. I started going through the process and everything. I'm going through a divorce right now, so I started going through the process and everything. And then when I got to the part where I had to put down my emergency contact, I didn't know what to do, so I stopped. So maybe when I get through some other stuff, I'll start again. But yes, that is on my list of things that I need to get done before the end of this year. I think most of I think for us right now, in terms of timeline, the focus will mostly be, to your point, make another record, get some more product out there, merch, more music out there, and then hopefully next year will be the time where, okay, now we're in a position to maybe go out there and do some stuff. And yeah, before too, like when you make a record right now, we did everything DIY, and your first record right now is almost like a demo in this modern age. So we didn't try to shop it or anything like that. We just made it because no one knows who you are. It's like, but now that we've actually had this album out for not quite a year, but coming up on a year, now we have some talking points and we have more experience and some things we've done. So I think with this second album, with the experience that we have off the first one and more of the attention that we've gotten from the songs in the first one, we should be able to do more stuff for the second one. Is the
Cool. Lisaboo just commented, speaking about going up into Canada. Yes, I'm in Canada. I'm in Alberta.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, the Canadian band that I really like is Voivod. I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but that's a band that I really love. Killing Technology, Dimension Hate Truck. Another band that I really like, they're from Toronto, when I was growing up, was Sacrifice, that For Determination record. Such a great Razor, another great band. A lot of good bands in Canada.
Yeah, there is.
There's a guitar player who's really, really, he doesn't really know me. He's an acquaintance, but he's from here. He lives in Canada now. His name's Greg Burgess, and he's in a band called Legion. I know that he's living in Canada now. I don't know why anyone needs to know that, but I saw him the other day. So like, yeah, I'm just thinking about things I know in Canada. Are Raven from Canada? No, they're from UK too. Raven. Oh, Anvil's from Canada. Sometimes I mix up Anvil and Raven. No, it's Anvil from Canada. When I was at the Hell's Heroes Fest, with all the satanic Hispanics kept coming up to me and telling me that I look like Lips from Anvil. I don't see it though. Maybe it's there.
So I've got a question from Lisaboo. She asked, do you have a favorite venue as because this is a two-part question, and do you also have a dream venue to play at?
I do. So my favorite venue here locally is a venue called the Oriental Theater. We played there 2 times now, probably two of our bigger shows that we played here. One was with Venom Inc., as I mentioned, and one was with Creeping Death, as I also mentioned. That's probably my favorite venue right now to go see shows. They have a lot of shows there. In fact, I'll be going there later today to see Raspberries on Fire, and there's also a band called Witherfall that I really like. That has a singer who's now the singer in Sanctuary. He's replaced World Dane in Sanctuary. So I'll actually be at the Oriental today. And I mean, dream spot, I'm here in Colorado, and I think I would be remiss if I did not say that, yes, I would like to play at Red Rocks. I don't know if you're familiar with Red Rocks. Natural formation, historic legendary venue. Yeah, if we could pull that off, that'd be amazing. But right now I'm just playing at local, other than the Oriental and a couple other places. I'm still pretty much club level right now. But hey, one can dream, and know what I do? I never give up on my dreams.
Cool. Thank you for that, Lisa.
Thank you, Alberta.
So, where can people find you on social media? On social media to keep up to date.
We are on Instagram. I think it's Torn from Existence official across the board. If you go from if you look for Torn from Existence official, we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're not on TikTok yet, but we will be. That's going to be the next thing I think we try to explore is TikTok and doing some more live videos, maybe doing some guitar playthrough videos on there. And then our website, which also serves as our EPK, is tornfromexistenceofficial.com. For streaming, I would probably direct people to Spotify just because it makes me look better. And for merchandise right now, everything is just on our Bandcamp page. So you can go to Bandcamp and just search for us that way. Yeah, we don't have anything great in terms of distribution, which has been a challenge, especially lately with the pricing for getting things to other countries. And then I know in some countries like France, you guys also get taxed when things come in there too. So the distro thing has been a challenge, and that's something that we've been trying to kind of hammer out and figure out. My friend I was telling you about in Greece, and hopefully we'll have that hammered out a little better before we try to make our way over there, so people actually know who we are at least a little bit.
Cool. So, have you sort of like got guys in the chat? If you've got any more questions, please ask away. So we're going to be starting to wrap things up in a minute. So, any advice for people who want to become a musician, whether for their own personal reasons or possibly go down the commercial road?
Music is a curse. Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. I would allude to kind of what I said before. You need to be a musician first and foremost. It's fun to play rock star, but if you don't like to practice and be skilled at your instrument, and if that isn't your first passion, is just playing and practicing, then so I think it all starts with the love for the instrument. And once you're playing and once you feel that inspiration, things I think will fall into place for you around there the way they should.
Cool.
Also, never give up on your dreams.
Cool. Sound advice there. So
that's the best I could do.
So we're going to be starting wrapping things up now, David. So have you got any final words before we go?
I would just urge people to check us out on all the socials. If you have not heard our album yet, give it a listen. Take a half hour out of your life to check it out. You won't be disappointed. It's quite the journey. I promise you this. Other than that, I would say thank you for supporting us in any way possible. Thank you for this interview. A shout out to our PR, Zach with Metal Devastation, for setting this up. And other than that, I would like to thank the Denver metal community at large, and also my bandmates, my peers and bandmates. And thanks to anybody, all within hearing. If there's anybody within hearing of this, thank you for that.
Yes. So, David, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a total pleasure. And if you haven't checked the band out, Torn From Existence, or I'll put all the links down in the description. So go check them out. These guys are absolutely brilliant. Because I've been listening to the album before we did the interview, and it's really good.
Thank you for that.
So yeah, go check them out. So until next time, guys, we'll catch you all later.